WWE just robbed us of the greatest WrestleMania match we'll never get to see, and I have the receipts to prove that Triple H completely sabotaged what should have been a 5-star classic. If you think Roman Reigns vs. Centimeter Punk vs. Seth Rollins delivered what it promised, you're either lying to yourself or you didn't watch the same train wreck I just witnessed. Don't you dare click away, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this was the most disrespectful booking decision in recent WWE history. Let me ask you something right now, and I want you to be brutally honest in the comments. Did that triple threat main event feel like a WrestleMania moment, or did it feel like we got played? Because from where I'm sitting, we just watched WWE take 3 of the biggest stars in professional wrestling and turn them into props for a storyline that nobody asked for. Roman Reigns, Centimeter Punk, Seth Rollins. 3 names that should automatically equal wrestling perfection. 3 men with enough combined talent to carry an entire promotion on their backs. 3 performers who've proven time and time again that they can deliver in the biggest moments. And somehow, WWE found a way to make this match feel empty. The build was perfect, the promos were fire, the tension was palpable. We had the tribal chief defending his legacy, Centimeter Punk trying to prove he still belongs at the top, and Seth Rollins playing the wild card who could steal everything from both of them. This was supposed to be the match, the one we'd be talking about for decades, the one that would be replayed in highlight packages forever. Instead, what did we get? A finish that prioritized shock value over storytelling. A conclusion that left every single person in that arena confused rather than satisfied. 28 minutes of incredible action completely undermined by a final 3 minutes that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Question for the comments: rate the triple threat main event out of 10, and tell me if that finish ruined the entire match for you. Here's what absolutely kills me about this whole situation. These 3 men were giving us everything in that ring. The chemistry was off the charts. Every near fall had me jumping out of my seat. Punk hitting the GTS on Reigns while Rollins was down. Chef's kiss. Rollins hitting the stomp on Punk while Roman was recovering. Absolute perfection. Roman hitting both men with Superman punches simultaneously. That's the kind of stuff WrestleMania is made of. But then, we get an interference finish. At WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year. The show where storylines are supposed to conclude, not create more questions than answers. I'm not going to spoil exactly who interfered because some of you might not have watched yet, but let me tell you this, it was the last thing this match needed. You know what the worst part is? This match didn't need a screwy finish to be memorable. These 3 could have gone another 10 minutes with a clean finish and we would have been talking about it as an instant classic. Instead, we're sitting here debating whether WWE just set up the next 6 months of programming at the expense of giving us a satisfying WrestleMania moment. Now let's talk about Tiffany Stratton vs. Charlotte Flair, because this is where things get really interesting. And by interesting, I mean absolutely infuriating. Tiffany Stratton is the future. Period. End of discussion. This woman has it. The look, the athleticism, the charisma, the in-ring ability. She's been on an absolute tear through the women's division, collecting wins and building momentum like a freight train that can't be stopped. Going into WrestleMania, she had all the momentum in the world. Charlotte Flair is a legend. Nobody can deny that. 14-time champion, daughter of Ric Flair, one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. Her legacy is cemented. She doesn't need another WrestleMania moment to prove anything to anybody. So naturally, WWE decided that Charlotte should go over clean. Question for the comments: did Charlotte Flair need to win this match? Yes or no, and explain your reasoning. I want you to understand something. This isn't about hating Charlotte Flair. This is about booking decisions that make 0 sense for the future of the company. Tiffany Stratton losing at WrestleMania doesn't just hurt her momentum, it sends a message to every young wrestler in that locker room that no matter how hard you work, no matter how over you get, the established stars will always be prioritized over you. The match itself was good, I'll give them that. Charlotte showed why she's a future Hall of Famer, and Tiffany proved she belongs on the biggest stage. But a good match doesn't excuse a bad decision. WrestleMania is supposed to be where new stars are born, not where they are sacrificed to make legends look even more legendary. Can we talk about the finishing sequence for a second? Tiffany hit her finisher. The crowd exploded. Charlotte kicked out at 2. Fine, I can accept that. It's WrestleMania, everyone's finisher gets kicked out of. But then Charlotte hits one natural selection and it's over? One move? After Tiffany kicked out of the figure 8 just minutes earlier? The math isn't mathing. Folks, you know what this reminds me of? Every single time WWE has had the chance to pull the trigger on a new star and chose not to. Every time they played it safe instead of taking a risk. Every time they prioritized the past over the future. And look, I get it, Charlotte Flair is a draw. She's a name. She brings credibility, but at what cost? Quick question, who was your pick to win Stratton versus Flair before the match started? Comment below. Let's shift gears and talk about the undercard, because there were some bright spots on this show that deserve recognition. The Tag Team Championship match absolutely delivered. Both teams left everything in that ring, and we got a finish that actually made sense and elevated everyone involved. That's how you book WrestleMania. The Intercontinental Championship match was another highlight. Hard-hitting, physical, told a great story from bell to bell. No interference, no shenanigans, just two wrestlers proving why they are at the top of the card. More of this, please. But here's where things get frustrating again. How is it that the mid-card matches on this show had better, more satisfying finishes than the main event? How does that happen? You're telling me that the team booking the Intercontinental Championship understood what fans wanted, but the team booking Roman, Punk, and Rollins didn't? The celebrity appearances were, well, they were celebrity appearances. Some worked, some didn't, but that's par for the course at WrestleMania. What bothers me is when celebrity segments get more time than actual wrestling matches. When you have superstars sitting in the back waiting for their moment while we're watching a musical performance, priorities are misaligned. Here's the thing about WrestleMania that WWE seems to forget sometimes: we're not watching for the spectacle. I mean, yes, the spectacle is great. The production value is incredible. The pyro, the entrances, the atmosphere, all of it adds to the experience. But at the end of the day, we're watching for the wrestling. For the stories being told in that ring. For the moments that make us jump out of our seats and call our friends. The Roman versus Punk versus Rollins match had those moments. Multiple times. It had everything it needed to be an all-time classic. But that finish, man, that finish just sucked all the air out of the building. You could feel the energy shift from "this is amazing" to "wait, that's it," in real time. Here's the big one for the comments: if you could rebook the main event with a different finish, what would you have done? Give me your fantasy booking. And let's circle back to Stratton versus Flair one more time because I can't let this go. Tiffany Stratton is 25 years old. She has decades of career ahead of her. This was her moment to become a made woman on the biggest stage in wrestling. Instead, she's now the person who lost to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. That's her story now. Charlotte doesn't need this win. Her legacy was already secure. She could have taken the loss, put over the future, and her Hall of Fame status wouldn't have been impacted even 1%. Instead, WWE chose the safe option, the predictable option, the option that protects the past at the expense of the future. You want to know what really grinds my gears? In the post-match interview, they tried to spin this as a learning experience for Tiffany, as if losing at WrestleMania is somehow good for her character development. No, just no. Winning at WrestleMania is good for character development. Proving you belong on the biggest stage by winning is what creates stars. Look at the history of WrestleMania. The most memorable moments aren't when the veterans beat the up-and-comers. They are when the new generation breaks through. Stone Cold beating Shawn Michaels. Brock Lesnar beating The Streak. Seth Rollins cashing in. These are the moments we remember because they represented a shift, a changing of the guard, a new era beginning. This WrestleMania could have given us that with Stratton. Instead, we got the same old song and dance. The veteran wins, the rookie gains valuable experience, and we're supposed to be satisfied with that. Well, I'm not satisfied. And based on the reaction I'm seeing online, a lot of fans aren't satisfied either. The Roman Punk Rollins situation is more complicated because at least that match was good for most of its runtime. The problem is purely the finish. Fix that one element, and you've got a potential 5-star match. As it stands, it's a great match with a terrible ending, which somehow feels worse than if it had just been mediocre throughout. WWE has all the tools to put on the greatest wrestling shows in history. They have the talent, the production capabilities, the resources, everything. So why do they keep getting in their own way with questionable booking decisions? Why do they keep prioritizing short-term shock over long-term storytelling? I want to be clear about something. I'm not trying to be negative just for the sake of being negative. I want WWE to be great. I want WrestleMania to be the spectacular, unforgettable event it's supposed to be. That's why it's so frustrating when they come this close to perfection and then fumble at the finish line. WrestleMania 41 Saturday had moments of brilliance. It had matches that delivered. It had performances that reminded us why we love professional wrestling. But it also had decisions that left us scratching our heads and wondering what could have been. So here's my final question for all of you, is WWE playing it too safe with their booking decisions, or am I overreacting? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you agree that both Stratton and the main event deserve better, and subscribe because tomorrow we're breaking down Sunday's show, and trust me, there's a lot to talk about. Remember, WrestleMania is supposed to be where legends are made, not where they are protected at the expense of the future. Let's hope WWE remembers that going forward, because the talent deserves better, and so do we as fans. The show might be over, but the conversation is just beginning.